get this.
What's up, guys? Welcome to the Walk On Warrior podcast, where we prepare young student athletes for next level success. I am your host, Coach Z. And listen, man, I'm super excited for our guest today. He has done it at every single level, whether it's the high school level, when he was a high school player for Poway High School, Palomar Junior College, as well as Humboldt State University, and then ultimately at the professional level with the Milano Rhinos. And listen, he's got a ton of knowledge, ton of insight, and ton of just overall just experience. Super excited to have him on. Like I said, Nick Ricciardulli, welcome to the Walk On Warrior podcast.
First things first, Coach. Just want to thank you for thinking about me and having me on the show, man. Ready to talk some ball and tell some stories and have some fun here.
So listen, I always like to start the podcast off with a little icebreaker, and so you played for Humboldt State, and we'll talk about that in a little bit, but they're no longer around. The Great Northwest Athletic Conference. Now, a little tidbit about me, my freshman year, had no idea what I wanted to do out of high school, wasn't getting recruited. I went to this school called Western Oregon University, and Humboldt, when they were around, played Western Oregon University. And the first thing that pops into my head are road trips. So talk to me about these road trips you deal with at the D2 level.
Hey, Coach, truthfully, I'd do it again. Man. First things first, man. We ride buses, okay? Division II, you're not taking the charter plane. You're not pulling right in. You're not, staying in a hotel every night doing it all. So for us at Humboldt State, we bus pretty much everywhere. It had to have been a couple thousand miles away if we were going to get on an airplane. Okay. And the other thing to take into consideration is that conference, everything's kind of stretched out. Humboldt, I would say, was somewhere in the middle. Okay, Humboldt was probably somewhere in the middle, but I could imagine we played games down in Southern California. We played games in Canada. We played games in Utah, Texas, etc. Right now, in that process, it was 9 out of 10 times riding a bus. And when we rode those buses, just to give you a general perspective, there were times where we would play a Saturday game and we would leave Thursday morning. Okay, we'd get on the bus Thursday morning. We sleep on the bus Thursday night. Just keep rolling. Just keep on going. You wake up on Friday. You have a little breakfast. You keep cruising. They find a field somewhere. You guys get out. You stretch your legs. You get a little warm up. Go through a little walkthrough session. Get back on the bus. Keep cruising. Hey, you get to where you're going. They feed you again. You get set up. You get one night of sleep in the bed before the game, Friday night. You try to get your body corrected, after sleeping on the bus the previous night. Okay. And then you go play football. You try to kick some butt, and you get back on the bus, man.
Yeah.
Hey, good times. Now let me tell you a technique that we figured out. Okay, you obviously can't stretch your legs on the bus, right? You can't stretch your legs. You're just sitting there. How are you gonna sleep sitting up all night? Okay, so we developed this technique. We called it the high-low technique. Okay, what that meant is that one guy would go below the seats and put his legs laterally underneath the seats, and then the other guy would go at the top, and he'd just have that gap between the seats. Hey, the fact that we're laughing about it, man, it brings back good memories.
Well, and the thing is you go through a different grind than you would at other levels. But ultimately at the end of the day, it was the dream that you had to play at the next level. And that was the opportunity that was given, and you just ran with it, regardless of the situation where it was, whether it was, you had some challenges to overcome or not. You build real tight relationships with coaches and players and that kind of thing. And especially when you're up in Arcata, right? Holy smokes. Shout out Arcata, man. Listen, I know some of you people are going to be watching this. So, yeah, let's dig into it, man. So, talk to the viewers a little bit about your story, and then we'll kind of piece that up as we get going.
So maybe I just start with the timeline. How's that sound, Coach? Start with the timeline.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So, was born into a family that really cared about football. You guys see I'm wearing the Pittsburgh Steelers. My family all comes from Pittsburgh. Okay. Football is like in a large way kind of life out there. My family grew up in, like an Italian community, like kind of just brought those values here and moved to San Diego. I'm a third generation football player. My grandfather played left tackle. He was about 5'10", 180. Played left tackle for University of Kentucky. Okay. And then my dad was a team captain, star player over at University of San Diego. And then my uncle was a quarterback at University of Iowa. Okay, so I was kind of raised by those guys coming through. And then they put me in football when I was 6 years old. I played my first season. Okay, flag football. Just got a taste of it. Found immediate success and an immediate love for the game. Okay, played football every year. After that, ended up playing at Poway Pop Warner. Okay, and then we played at Poway High School, and then I went to Humboldt State. Actually, I signed out of high school to Humboldt State. Went up there for a year, and I was just kind of young, and I got homesick, and I wanted to go home. Like, it just didn't feel right. I was far away, and I had culture shock. Like, there was a lot of things going on. So I went home, and then I went to junior college. Okay, I spent a year at junior college. Okay, and while at junior college, grew up a little bit, realized, hey, I could go deal with my own stuff 800 miles away from my family. I'll be all right. So I decided I'll go back to Humboldt State, despite the fact that I had other offers, but I chose to go back to Humboldt, and then had some good seasons up there. I was a conference player of the year, broke the conference records for rushing and all-purpose and, carries, et cetera. And then, had an injury along the way. Actually, my college career, I had 2 or 3 big-time injuries that required surgery. But I just kept pressing, and then, I ended up getting scouted by the NFL and Canadian leagues, etc. But at the time, it was just really bad timing for me because I was coming off an injury and I just wasn't at my best. So, like I said, I loved the game though. I wanted to keep playing. Decided I'll go play in Italy. Okay, I went to Italy. I played for Chris Ault out there, inventor of the pistol offense. Went out there and we had an undefeated championship season, and I was named the MVP of the league and, Italian Super Bowl MVP, all that. So, I had a taste of a little fun after college, and then came home and started coaching, man.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Went back to the fatherland, huh?
Hey, man. I'm actually a dual citizen.
Yeah. That's pretty cool.
I'm a dual citizen, which is really cool because it typically takes people several years, like 3 to 5 years, to acquire citizenship. Now, the Italian government, due to the fact that I was a football player and they wanted me to play on their national football team, pretty much pushed mine right through, and I got citizenship in 1 day. Yeah. So that's just something for guys to think about. The game of football will give back to you.
Yeah. So let's go back to high school. Let's go back to, obviously, you come from a good family, a football family. So you've really been raised a certain direction, certain way. We talked about this before before we're on the podcast here, but let's talk about a couple things. So the first thing that I wanted to talk about is you've done really well at, let's say, Poway High School. You did your thing. Now it's time to get recruited. Now, we're talking about sizes and shapes, and you've got a lot of these colleges that are looking to put guys in specific, I don't want to say categories, but they put you in a specific, best way I can put it is a box, right? They think a running back's got to be height and weight. O-lineman's got to be this way, da-da-da-da-da. There's this whole system that they have, and they think of it as a certain way. But the problem is that guys develop and guys have, longer road, whatever. Talk about the challenges. And like I said, with me coming out, as we're talking to young student athletes here, I came out at 5'9". I was about 175 pounds. I had a lot of speed, but, I wasn't getting looked at because I wasn't the size and the shape. I wasn't the 5'10", 200-pound, player in my position. So obviously I'm getting overlooked. And with you, coming back and ended up playing junior college, let's talk about that in itself. Coaches and their egos and you overcoming a situation that's kind of something you were dealt. And you just ran with the best with it, and you ended up becoming successful because of it. But I'm kind of ramming on here, but let's talk about the size and the shape and how you're able to overcome what these coaches think is specific to positions and stuff like that.
Okay. So what I'll start with is I could go back and look at my whole football career, and there never really was a time where I walked into a team to go play football for somebody, and like all of a sudden I was going to be viewed as like, oh, this is going to be our star player. Nope, it just didn't happen. It was almost like every time I had a hill to climb, and to the point to where, I was sitting on the bench behind kids, but you're dealing with youth coaches and they don't necessarily get it, but, turn into a 2-time college All-American, right? Okay, so now that happened, right? And I got to high school. I had a good, I played freshman football as a high school football player. Ran for about 2,000 yards and 30-something touchdowns, okay? They said, hey, we want you to play varsity next season. All right, I'll go play varsity football, okay? They brought me up, right? But you're not going to play running back. You're going to go play receiver for us.
Yeah.
All of a sudden put me in a role that I had never played before because my shape and my size, right? At the time, granted, I was about 5'8" and 140 pounds, 135 pounds as a sophomore. Now, do I think I could have got it done? Absolutely, 100%. Okay. Now, same thing. The following season, hey, you're going to play receiver again. Going into my junior year. I said, you know what, coach? I think I want to play running back. I think I want to play running back. I want to play running back. Sat down, with the coaching staff, and essentially what was said was, if I'm not good enough to play running back, I'll sit on the bench. Because I knew that as a football player that had been playing my whole life, my thing was I knew that I could make plays at running back. And receiver just didn't come as natural to me. Even though maybe I had a body type to play receiver, right? I just liked having the ball handed to me.
Yeah.
It just is what it is. So, actually, due to an injury, they had me kind of slotted as the number 2. Due to an injury, I got a chance, right? So they gave me a chance to go play running back. Ended up breaking the school record for rushing yards. Won the first CIF championship in the school's history. Was named the most valuable player of the CIF championship game. And after that, it was back to playing running back, right? And then, senior year, kind of stacked up. My senior year of high school, kind of stacked up on the records, continued to make plays. Didn't have as much of a team around me. We graduated a lot of guys, but we still had success, won a league championship. Maybe if we could have avoided an injury or two, probably could have gone back-to-back CIF. But, that's football. And then, I got to college. At the college level, my college coaches kind of knew what they were recruiting. They came down here to get me, right?
Mhm.
They came down here to get me. They wanted me. So they were able to kind of see past, right? Now, just a little backdrop on that. When I started producing at a really, really high level as a high school football player, what I was thinking, because I was kind of a nerd and I was like looking at rivals.com and scout.com and like, hey, checking out who's getting offers and where they're getting offers, what type of numbers they're putting up, et cetera, et cetera. I wasn't really paying attention to height and weight. All I was paying attention, he ran for 1,000 yards. He ran for 14 touchdowns. He got 700 yards, rushing and whatever. How come that guy's got offers here? Because I'm looking at my numbers and I got 2,000.
Right.
How come my number, that went through my mind. I just didn't get it. I just didn't understand. All I thought was if I went out there and produced, that my opportunities would come. Okay. So when it came down to it, I was looking around, I was like, where's all like my big time offers? I was thinking I was going to get some big time offers. Like I was a champion player, like, Division I San Diego, like breaking records, all CIF, everything. Yeah. But nobody was like really giving me the big offers. Okay. So that was an experience. That was my first experience where it was like, man, like what the heck? What do I got to do here? All right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I had some Division I offers, but my brother was playing at Division II Humboldt State University. And they gave me the ride, they gave me the scholarship and they said, hey, you can come play with your brother. We'll get you guys set up. Like you guys can room up, do it all. And to me, like, hey, I could go to South Carolina, like I could head out to South Carolina. Like, I could head to Texas. I could head to these different places, but I could just go play with my brother up in California, and there was a level of comfort there being a little brother. So I was like, I'll go play with my brother. I chose to go to Humboldt State. Got to Humboldt State. Probably, I was brought in to start as a true freshman up there. Okay. And at the time I was really weighing maybe 170 pounds, 170, 173, like lightweight, 18 years old, just fresh out of high school. Okay. So I started making plays, like you start at the bottom, number 6 on the depth chart. You start making plays, you start climbing up. Right. So we get to our spring season, or not spring, excuse me. The first scrimmage of fall camp. Okay. The first scrimmage of fall camp. And I had worked my way up to number 2 on the depth chart. But we had a senior who was in front of me, who had spent the summer, and was really involved with the weight room, everything. And they were giving him his respect, which I think is right. Okay. Anyways, they give me a chance to show what I can do. Okay. So they cut me out there and I start making plays like immediately. First time I start touching the ball, I'm just ripping them up. The other guy's getting 3.5. I'm getting 20, so go through that. And then we ran a draw and I bounced it to the perimeter. Corner came up, corner grabbed onto my ankle and I tried to spin out of it. Right. And I was going to spin out of it, but my foot stayed. He had a hold of my foot. So I twisted my MCL, tore it, right? So this is, season starts 3rd week in August, and this is the end of the 1st week in August, So all of a sudden it's like, oh, now we got to get you sized for a knee brace. And again, they brought me up to start as a freshman. So instead of just redshirting me, they're like, no, we're going to get him a brace and we're going to play him, which is part of college sports, man. They do those things. So I Ended up getting braced up. I didn't get cleared to play until like week 2, week 3. Showed up as a freshman. First game, I think I ran for 3 touchdowns and like 150 yards in my first college game. And then we got into the next game, I think I had 2 touchdowns my second game. And then we get to our third game. And we're playing against the number 1 team in the country at the time, Central Washington. And this was the week that they started me. This was the week that I was like, all right, you're starting now. Okay. With the knee brace, they started me. Went out there. Was having some good success in the first half. And then I ran a check down. Quarterback kind of laid me out to dry a little bit. Right. And there was a transfer, a bounce back from University of Alabama, a first team all SEC player that was playing backer. Okay. Quarterback led me out to dry right at that guy. Broken fibula. Okay.
Ooh.
Didn't know it was broken, coach. I just kept playing the game because I was like, man, I tweaked my ankle. I just keep playing like whatever. And then my toes started getting cold. So I went to the sideline. I was like, hey, to our trainer, I was like, hey, you guys tape me too tight. You guys got to retie this or like retape it up. So they cut it off, and then immediately my ankle blew up, and they're like, yo, you're done, dude. You're done. Season-ending injury. That was it. And then after that, I'm getting surgery. I got a bad knee on this side. I got a broken fibula on this side. Okay. And I'm at Humboldt State University, HSU, that's known as Hills and Stairs University. Okay. So I'm on crutches and straight leg brace, and I got a boot and a cast on this one, and it's wet and it's raining. It was tough. That's kind of largely why I decided I want to go home, man. This is like not fun.
Yeah.
Went home, went back to JUCO, Palomar College. Like at the time, that was the team to play for in San Diego. It was like, yo, if you're a good player, you go play for Palomar at the time, right? So I was like, I'll go play for Palomar. I headed over there. I walked into a situation to where, again, I was at the bottom of the depth chart when I walked in the door. Okay. Had to compete, had to grind, show my way. Okay. Ended up, being the starting tailback. Junior college is a little bit different in regards to the usage of the players. Okay. It's about getting everybody out. So instead of me being the type of guy that I was, where it was usually like a 250 to 300 carry type season, I carried the ball 100 times. I think I averaged I want to say about 6 yards a carry, and I had some touchdowns, but it wasn't like I was in that star featured role like I was so used to. Yeah. Okay, because they were getting the ball all over the place, right? But that was okay with me. Anyways, ended up getting some offers. Like I was getting offers and all that. And then I had this coach up at Humboldt, Coach Shea McClure. He was
shout
the guy
out Coach McClure, man. Yeah, shout out. I know Coach McClure. Yeah,
Mac. Yeah. Anyways.
Yeah.
He was so funny because he recruited me out of high school. He's the guy who got me to sign out of high school. And in college, when I went back to JUCO, I was like, when I first got there, I was like, no way I'm going back to Humboldt. I'm going other places. Like I'm doing other things.
Yeah.
This guy did not stop calling me. He didn't stop calling me. I'm not even joking you. Truthfully, I was kind of a pain in the ass to recruit, coach. I didn't like taking calls. I just like to mind my own business. Anyways, he called me probably 500 times without answering. I didn't answer. Just ignore the calls, but he just kept calling. And one day I was like, you know what? What's up, coach? What's up, coach? And he said, hey, you want to come back to Humboldt? We're gonna take care of you. You're about to break records up here. I thought about it. I weighed my options. I had some other cool, like really cool options. But my brother was coaching at Humboldt at the time, right? He had finished his career and he was coaching up there. And I was like, again, I was like, I'll just go back. I'll just go back and play with my brother, like, like do my thing, little level of comfort there. Uh, Went back, broke some records, did the thing. Had another major injury going into my senior year. First team, I was a first team preseason All-American, like a unanimous across the board, right? We go in, we play the first game. I had the best offseason of my life. I was looking like a rock, like just rock solid, fast, smooth, everything. Just dialed in, diet, doing everything. Okay. Anyways, we start playing, like we get into our first game playing against Simon Fraser University. Okay. First play, just they dumped out like a bubble to somebody. No big deal. Second play, they handed me one off, 8 yards. Bam. Ball down. Third play, we run like an RPO, like early RPOs when it was first coming out. And I go and he ends up pulling it. And me, being a young player, I kind of cooled up a little bit. I was like, oh, because I was just coming off a fall camp where like, hey, you just don't hit those guys. Like, I cooled up and all of a sudden like a 300-something pound one tech jumps on my back and pulls me this way while my foot is in the ground. Bam, popped the knee, the same knee that I tore as a freshman. I tore the same ligament again. My third play of my senior year. Okay. Lost, like, hey, that was it. They put me on the medical red shirt because I really did it bad this time. Like the first time it was bad, but this time it was worse. And it was like I couldn't really be who I was with this knee anymore. And I wasn't down to play my senior year in a knee brace. So they redshirted me. And then I end up having to have surgery, the cadaver tendon, the screws, the whole deal. Right. There was an issue with my insurance. This is something about Division II football. Okay. So my insurance applied to San Diego, right? Like that, all my coverage was here in San Diego. Up there, I didn't have the right coverage to really have big things done. Okay. Right. So I'm obviously in school. I can't just up and leave in the middle of the semester, and go have surgery and da 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 da. So I end up having to wait until Thanksgiving break. Right? Got to Thanksgiving break. I got injured in September. Or wait, it'd probably be August. I got injured in August. I didn't have surgery until Thanksgiving break. Big surgery, man. Painful deal, like big old scar, everything. They sat me down, and then I had to come back from it, and I didn't have enough time, Coach. I didn't have enough time. I was in a straight-legged brace for 6 months, crutches, and then summer was when they cleared me for rehab. And so I was just literally with the physical therapist all summer, and I didn't get cleared until the second week in July. And now I had 2 weeks to try to get ready for a football season. So I went into my senior year as a shell of myself. I really was. I was a shell of myself. I ended up playing my senior year. I had 1,000 yards, and our team won a lot of games, and I was the first. I produced and had the accolades and all those things, but the whole while I kind of felt like I can't do what I know I can do, if that makes sense. And that's part of being an athlete, man. Yeah. And then, like I was telling you, I was scouted by the NFL, the CFL, but it happened at a bad time. Okay, so now you take a guy who had 2 weeks to get ready for a football season after an injury, and then he goes and plays the whole season, right? And then all of a sudden he's got to get scouted right after that. You could imagine how I was at the end of the season. I didn't have anything left. And then all of a sudden it was like, oh yeah, biggest job interviews of your life type deal. Okay. Yeah. So that's another thing for guys to take into consideration. It's like, hey man, in some ways you have to be a little bit lucky. Like, because you play this game for long enough, you will have some injuries along the way, right? And a big thing is having injuries like at the right time can be important. I'm just saying that. So anyways, nothing really materialized with the NFL. And I don't blame them because I wasn't at my best, man. I don't blame them. Same thing for the CFL. Don't blame those guys. But Italy took a chance on me. They brought me in on a rookie contract, man, out in Italy. I got brought in on a rookie contract. Brought my son, like did the whole thing, and went out there. And I remember I walked in the door, and because I couldn't play the first game, there was something up with like my visa paperwork or whatever. Where like the first game I wasn't eligible, but I was going to be eligible the second game. So I walked in, and we had like American imports out there, like from big time schools. And I walked in, I told those guys, I was like, "Yo, y'all just hold this one down. I'm coming next week. We're gonna go get this done. Just hold it down." They look at me like I was crazy.
Yeah.
Like, who is this guy? Right? Anyways, we snuck by that first game. I was in the bleachers watching. I wasn't even allowed on the field because of the eligibility or whatever. I was in the bleachers watching. We won like last second, fourth quarter touchdown. Come from behind win. It's cool. Like I enjoyed it. It was fun to watch. And then after that, like I said, I was playing for Chris Alt. And Coach Alt, he kind of slow played me. So Coach Alt played a psychological game on me, which is something kind of cool in coaching. You know what he did? Coach Alt was willing to lose the game to piss me off. He wanted to piss me off to get the most out of me. Okay, so he was literally sitting me on the bench, until like the fourth quarter, and then putting me in. And you could imagine, I'm on the sideline steaming, Coach. I'm sitting here watching this game all day and knowing I could be out there making plays, and this doesn't even have to be like this. Yeah. You know, this game should be over. And this guy sitting me on the bench, right? Popped me in the fourth quarter for the last two drives. He did that to me. And then he did that to me a couple weeks. And then I got to a point where I was pissed. And I walked up to him on the sideline. And I was like, Coach, I didn't come out here to sit on the bench. Coach. He put me in the next drive. He never took me out again. But he pushed the button. He pushed the button in me that I didn't know I had. And that's really cool. That's, why the guy's a Hall of Fame, NCAA Hall of Fame coach.
Well, so think of it. Let's pull this back just a little bit. You have, like I said, you have an incredible story. You have a huge story about all these different things that you've been able to accomplish. So let's go back real quick. We'll go back to high school. So we'll dig it back. So obviously you go as far as you do, and you have all these ups and downs. But when we're dealing with these young student athletes, it's like when you're underappreciated, undersized, and you're under-recruited. So what's your mindset? What do you do, right? A lot of times kids, even out here in San Diego, they don't have all those resources because a lot of times, well, they have the resources, but as far as the knowledge and understanding resources, you just don't have it. So you're getting some recruitment. You might be getting a lot of recruitment, but either way you look at it, when you come out of high school, kids are not fully developed, right? Oh, mentally, physically, the whole thing. And I think that your story is really important in the fact that you were about, what'd you say, 150, 160, 170, whatever it is, coming out of high school. And when these
165 pounds as a high schooler, man. Senior year.
Right. And so, even though you're out here in San Diego, you think there's all these eyeballs, you've done a lot of great things, but still these coaches, they have this thing in their mind where you have to be a certain size, shape to play specific positions. But you are a true testament of a guy that said, you know what, I'm going past the boundaries. We're going to say, listen, I'm going to blaze my own path. You've been extremely successful, right? But it started somewhere. And at the same time, there's a lot of kids that say, well, I'm not getting recruited. I'm undersized. Coach told me this. I'm not this. I'm all these different things. The main thing with this walk-on warrior is it's like we need kids to understand that your story, being in the situation you were in, you said, no, hold on a minute. And of course, now you're a coach, but coming from the recruiter I am, it's like I look at a guy like you, right? I actually don't. A lot of times guys don't know your story. So they think, oh, well, there's 1,000 things you can break down. But as far as your size and your shape and being able to overcome that is really a major factor, because we had a kid a couple of years ago at Grossmont where he played quarterback. He came back from a Mormon mission. He was about 180 pounds, 6'4", 180 pounds. He comes back to play quarterback and ends up spending, that 2 years or whatever at the JC level. All of a sudden now he's 220. He got hurt both years, by the way. Didn't start until his second year. Got hurt within the first drive. What do? You've medical redshirt. You've done all these things, but he still wants to pursue it. And we said, listen, man, just try changing a position. This guy goes out and makes the opportunity matter, because we're in front of these college recruiters, BYU, UCLA, whatever. Put the work in, put the time in, was patient, did not have an ego, just like yourself, and said, listen, this is what I still want to do. Put the time in, and then all of a sudden comes out and he runs routes for the first time in front of all these recruiters. Before the UCLA coach got home, he had the facts coming in.
Wow.
You know what I mean? So that story, and by the way, shout out Josh Harris. He's actually going to be on the podcast here soon, but
awesome.
But making the best of an opportunity, regardless of your situation, right? Especially coming out of high school, because everybody, let's be honest, at high school kind of has an opportunity to play, right? For the most part, you're going to get a chance to play, but most kids don't understand that if you're patient and you do what your coaches tell you to do and stay focused and learn and grow through the process, right? And use the resources that you do have, you can overcome that. Your story is a perfect example. And then reinventing yourself where you go, right? When you get that opportunity, reinventing your identity, because now you're back to, the next step above Poway. Now nobody knows you. The recruiters do, but now it's all about reinventing yourself. So let's talk about, okay, so you end up going to Humboldt and playing for a year. They're bringing you in. You're getting your time. You get hurt. You've got an injury. Now you come back to the JC level, which happens pretty frequently, especially if guys that want to keep playing, right? Talk about, not so much about Palomar, but just talk about your mentality with an injury, having to come back, and then go through this cycle again, go through this road again.
Okay, so what I'll say, given my experience, and I've got scars all over my body because I played football for a long time. What I will say is that it's the mindset. The mindset is very important, because dealing with an injury, like a serious injury, you get scarred up, they cut you up, whatever. You're going to have good days and you're going to have bad days, okay? There'll be times where, you feel like I could go run a sprint right now, and when you're a month out from surgery. And then there'll be another day where you're walking around the grocery store and you step the wrong way, and all of a sudden it didn't feel right. And you start going in your head like, hey, like, did the doctor do it right? Like, I'm worried. That didn't feel right. I should be able to turn in the grocery store, right? So understanding that there's going to be good days and that there's going to be bad days, it comes down to the process behind it. Or, well, shoot, what am I going to do to make more good days than bad days? And you got to understand that, like, a lot of athletes really struggle in this regard. Physical therapy, taking care of your body, coming back from injuries is going to be a big deal in regards to your level of success, not only as an athlete, but also your longevity. I know guys that, have torn a ligament in their ankle and, like, kind of did 2 or 3 sessions. They're like, no, I'm good. Me, the type of way that I was in there 5 days a week all summer. Like working the crap out of my leg or like whatever the heck was hurt. And that's not very fun. It's not fun. It's not a good time. It sucks. It hurts. You're strengthening all the areas that got weak. But having a priority, like, hey, this is like, I care about this game, and going back to a point to where you get in your head and you say, hey, my team is kind of counting on me. I got to go through this pain and this sacrifice so that I can produce at a high level for us to have success, so we can all have a good time out here,
Yeah. Well, it's a really interesting point, because I didn't see it go in that direction talking about injuries. I didn't know about the injuries. And, you talk about mindset, right? So say a guy does or doesn't have an injury, but you're in a situation where you had to come back, right? Because of something that happened. All of a sudden you're coming back and now you're trying to reinvent yourself. But talk about the mentality of somebody that's got to go. That's an even deeper road. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was talking about just going from one step to the next. You went one step to the next and then had to go back a step and then step. So, overcoming and being persistent. And also one thing that kind of stood up to me was also, you also were humble and didn't have an ego, right? Because you're talking about some guys that would go and they would get in their PT and, they only do a couple sessions, then get out because let's be honest, they're young kids. They think they know what they're doing. And right. And that's the reality of it. Kids don't.
It's real, coach. It's real, coach. It's going to happen. It's going to keep happening. Now, what you'll find is the guy that goes to 2 or 3 PT sessions and says he's good to go. You ain't going to hear about that guy much longer. You know what I mean? That's just the honest truth. Yeah.
And they're definitely going to fade out. Yeah. 100 times over. And we've got many of those stories, trust me. But, when you're talking to young student athletes here, it's like, okay, so you got a couple scenarios. So you may be undersized and you got to go this road, right? You got to overcome, you got to overachieve. That's just a part of the game. Or you end up, going a hard road, get hurt, get cut, whatever it is. So talk about that part of the road, because with these young student athletes, now let's say that they were able to overcome whatever it was in high school. Now talk about the mindset of overcoming, what's the word for it? Just challenges that you're going to face now that you've decided, hey, that's my dream to go be a collegiate football player. The reality is there may be injuries. There may be all these different things that happen.
Calling.
No, you're
you
good.
Got me, coach?
Yeah. That there's things that you're going to have to overcome. There's challenges. No, you're fine. So
coach, you got me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
What's going on there?
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, dude.
Hold on.
Son's friend is calling. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah.
What the hell is going on
there? Here, I'll remove you and then put you back in.
Hello?
You got me?
So we're going, coach. I don't know. I'm not a technology guy, man.
Just sign back in.
Do it again. Go back.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. But yeah, so sometimes with young student athletes, you're going to be in situations where you're going to go through adversity, whether you are at that level or you're not. And that is the key.
Sorry about that, coach.
No, you're good. Listen, man. So what I was saying is you're in a situation where you have a lot of adverse situations. And I want you to talk a little bit about those specific things, whether a kid is under-recruited, undersized, and he's trying to make his road, and he's trying to get to that collegiate level, or let's say he does get recruited like you, right? Gets injured, has to come back. The mentality and the mindset is super important. And just touch on it for a little bit, because we'll get on to some bigger things here. But talk about the mindset of overcoming challenges, whether it's in high school, trying to follow your dream to get to the next level, or somebody that gets to that level and then something happens. Talk about that challenge.
I mean, to me, it just all comes back to passion. I think that it all comes back to uh, how much do you care about this? Like, do you really, really love it? Because uh, a lot of guys like playing football. They like playing football,
Yeah.
right? They don't like the hard parts about it. Okay. And to me, it just comes back to a mentality of understanding that, yes, there will be hardship that occurs on the journey to get to where you're wanting to go. Okay. But, having the mental toughness and the mentality to embrace the hardship and just understand that, yeah, this is part of the deal. But my big thing is I just got to keep pressing, coach. I just keep pressing. I'll get there, right? It might be 10 steps forward and 11 steps back and then 8 steps forward and 2 steps back. Like, that's how it rolls.
Yeah.
But just that day-to-day grind and that mentality of I care about this. I love this. I want to do this. That's what that was what I utilized.
Yeah. So let's talk about, so now you're at Humboldt, not the first go around. Now it's the next go around. And yes, you still have your challenges, but listen, talk about when you first got on campus, right? Now you're the new guy or you're the guy returning. Now it's all about establishing who you are. Talk to the young student athletes about your reintroduction. How about that? Reintroduction to the collegiate game. So now you've made it. Now you're there. So what are some of the things? And of course, you're a little bit differently. You have that mentality. But talk to the young student athletes about a day in the life. Let's say just in a day in a life. You can dabble into during the season. You can talk about out of season. But talk about a day in the life of Nick and what it is. Like, literally break it down.
Okay. Well, just to go back, so reestablishing myself on campus. So I brought with me a level of confidence when I came back. The reason being is I was grinding. I was in the gym. I was running sprints. I was doing yoga. I was stretching. I was taking care of my body. I was eating right. And I knew that, not everybody does that, even at the college level. So I had some time after Palomar where I was really working hard and I was in good shape and I was ready to go. So I felt confident when I got there. Okay. Now I stepped on the field and you get back where it's all about competing, coach. Guess what? The spring semester, I'm a spring transfer. Spring semester just started. Monday morning, we got running. Yo, I'm not gonna let anybody beat me. I'm not gonna let you beat me, right? That was my mindset. Like, hey, I'm here to compete. I'm here to win everything. Because I cared. I cared about it. Now, hey, you can go out there and run fast and do things and lift heavy weights and do all that. Doesn't really matter. What matters is what you do on the field. What do you do on the field when you're playing on a football team? Okay, so again, a little coach psychology put me at the bottom of the depth chart. Hey, even though they brought me back and I was probably, their number one signing, like the number one target, they brought me back, bottom of the depth chart. All right. But it was different then. I was like, I'm about to show you. And there was no, I didn't feel bad for myself. I just knew that, coaches were coaching and they got to do their respect by the guys that were working hard and, had been here and, have longevity and all that. I'm just showing up, right? So, bottom of the depth chart, I was like, all right, that's cool. I'll play at the bottom of the depth chart right now. So, we get to our first spring season. They go through reps. I finally get an opportunity 40 minutes into the spring scrimmage. They ran a stretch, 65-yard touchdown, first play. That was the only play I played that scrimmage. They played me one rep. I went and sat down. Next week, I was number one on the depth chart on Monday morning when we came back. So it's just, hey, man, goes back to the work I put in. I was working harder than everybody else.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a big thing because a lot of kids, as well as I do, certain times a year, Twitter is flooded with "I'm blessed to receive" posts of
all day long.
offer. I'm almost getting sick of hearing or even seeing the word offer. I think it should be more opportunity than it should be offer, because of the mindset and the mentality of it all. But here's the thing. Kids want to play at the next level, right? But they don't understand what it takes from the moment you step on campus to the moment that you leave for maybe 5 years away. And one thing for me is I always tell kids it's okay to be somewhat naive going on a campus because you have to learn and it's a process. But at the same time, you also don't want to get in your head and think things are a certain way when they're not or whatever, and then get your hopes up, hopes down. But you need to go on that campus and you need to prove yourself again and reinvent that identity. Whether you're at the D1 level, D2, it doesn't really matter. The point is that you're trying to establish this dream of yours, but you have to go into it knowing that it's unknown. And I think kids, they think, oh, D1, D2, all this, I'm a next level guy, but they don't really know truly what it is and what it means to be there. And the dedication that, well, we can go and we can be the 80%, Nick. You know what I'm saying? You can go and just go through the motions. You can go to weights. You can, oh, man, then get a girlfriend and get, all these different things. But we're talking about now a kid's on campus. Now it's time to go and get it done. I'm talking to Nick Ricciardulli because you were one of the best. I don't want kids that are going to just come to my program and be just average, because you're not going to be successful later on down the road in life. If you don't have the right character, the right mindset, and you go to an interview and getting a job and not be what's the point in doing it anyway? If you're not going to try to be the best.
That's how I feel, Coach. Not everybody has that mindset. Not everybody does have that mindset, but that's how I feel too. If I'm going to do something, damn it, I want to win.
Well, and that's another thing that we try to promote here is it's like, okay, so everybody's talking about being blessed and received, but once you receive, what are you going to do with that, with that invitation? Because it is an invitation. I mean, whether you got money or not, you still have that door cracked open and opportunity. But once you get on campus, what are you going to do with it? And by the way, football is a dangerous sport. If you don't come on campus and do everything you're supposed to do in the classroom and physically, you're going to get hurt. And it's going to be a long, listen, you're going to have that mentality later on all the way through the rest of your life. Oh man, they were right. I should have done it this way. And I'll give you kind of an example. So when I first got onto the campus at Utah State and I went through the tryout and got on the team and everything, I like telling this story because naivety is sometimes important. So we're in a first spring scrimmage. We got 6 running backs, and they're all, of course, in front of me. They all get hurt.
Oh, man.
So my coach, who was the head coach for the Panthers last year, he ends up, who do we got? You know what I'm saying? Now I'm like, oh, shit. And before I could get it out, they pushed me forward, and they said, well, listen, I'm not going to screw around here and, beat around the bush. You'll get the ball. So we get the ball 15 yards down the field, right? Boom, back in the huddle. Nobody knows who I am. Boom, we run it again. So reestablishing yourself. And then from there on, I have my spot on the team. I'm traveling to Bama, to Clemson, all this thing. So my point is that when a kid gets onto campus, you end up being in a situation now where if you sink or swim, bro, you know what I'm saying? Because
no doubt, coach. Hey, and you never know when it's going to happen, Coach. I'm pretty sure you didn't know that day that all of a sudden you were going to be thrown in the fire.
Well,
it went back to the work that you did so that you could have your success to open those opportunities down the road.
Yeah. And so high-level athletics, right? That's why I say when kids post it, blessed to receive, they don't understand that there's a responsibility behind that. Because when you get onto that campus, now all of a sudden you're at the bottom again. You're a freshman. If you want to play, there's a reality to that game, right? There's a reality to actually what you have to do. right?
Yes.
You wake up at 6 a.m., you got your workouts. Boom, workouts are over. You eat. You go to class for 3 or 4 hours. Then you got to go to film, and then you got to, after film is over, then you got to go to practice, and after practice, and
Hey,
you got to. So you go through this
all day
grind.
long, coach. Your whole day is structured, man.
But see, the thing is like I said, you see it on Saturdays, or even in the NFL, you see it on Sundays. But what you don't see is you don't see what happens during that time in between. And so what I get a lot of times is I get those kids that when they contact me their freshman year or whatever, they say, oh, yeah, by the way, I didn't listen to you, but you were right. And I'm not tooting my own horn. It's just the fact that we have the best getting there and trying to tell you, young student athletes that are listening and watching the show, it's like from top to bottom, there's certain requirements or you're gonna be gone. And on top of that, me being a recruiter, I'm trying to out recruit you. No doubt about it. Every single cycle, I'm trying to get your butt out of there. If Nick, you're my top guy, listen, I get it, but guess what? Eventually you're going to be gone. And I have to be able to put about 4 more U's out there on the field. So there's certain requirements and you got to have a certain mentality. And so now you go from high school, you go from college, you do have your challenges. Nick goes back to Palomar. JC world is it's a good world because it gives kids an opportunity to learn, to grow, to develop. I think that's a word we don't use enough in the sport of football and any other sport. We don't talk about development because it's a scary world in the sense that you have to be patient, and kids don't understand that there's a patience, and the word no is there a lot. And you can either sink or you can swim. And I'll tell you right now, man, that development, when you go to a university, the freshman, sophomore year, you student athletes, you're holding pads, right? No. Versus if you were to go to a JC, you get on the field, you play, so holding pads isn't always a bad thing because I held pads for about 3 years.
Make it tough, coach. Make it tough, man.
But the grind is real, and that's the reality of the process of it. So let's move forward a little bit. So you're at Humboldt. You have a great career at Palomar, at Poway. So now it's time to move on. You possibly have opportunities. So you say, all right, you know what? I'm getting this opportunity out in Italy. Guess what? I got to reinvent myself again in another country. And another coach like Coach Olt, shout out Coach Olt, one of the greatest ever, pistol offense, the whole thing. But talk about now it's time to take that ultimate leap of playing professional football and putting a stamp on it in your career.
I mean, Coach, before I left to go to Italy, I was seeing my family off and my friends or whatever. And one of my really good friends, I said, hey, he said, Nick, go hold it down. I said, hey, I'm gonna go out there. We're gonna win the championship, and I'm gonna get the MVP, and I'll see you in 9 months. That's what we did. That's what I did, and it went back to the mindset, Coach. It went back to the mindset. I literally told my friend to his face what I was gonna do, and I wasn't saying I'm gonna go try to do this, or I want to do this. I said this is what I'm going to do, and that's what I did. A level of confidence, like, hey, you got to be confident in the work that you do to be able to do those things. But just kind of how I carried myself, man. Like, as a football player, it was fun for me. It was really fun for me because when I went overseas, I was a Division II kid. I was an undersized running back.
Yeah.
My skin tone's not necessarily what you're used to in running backs, right? So I was being looked down on in a big way right when I got there. Oh, they signed this guy. They signed this guy. Playing against guys from Notre Dame, Alabama, Arkansas, Clemson, like da-da-da-da-da-da. Like, that's how it is. They're bringing in import players, right? More often than not, those import players aren't going to be Division II players.
Yeah.
They're going to be like somebody that came from somewhere flashy, right? So I was looked down on. But in my eyes, I was like, the way that I saw it, I trusted my work. I trusted my talent. And I was just there to get things done. And truthfully, it was at that point in my life where football wasn't like necessarily like something I would just go do for fun anymore. It was like that was at the point where, hey, this is my job. This is what I do. Like, I have to do my job. I have to do my job good.
Yeah. So with that being the case, talk about focus. Because one thing that really stands out when I talk to you is you talk a lot about going above and beyond, right? So you have a goal, you have a vision, there's what you're wanting to do, but you're going to come hell or high water, you're going to stay on that path. You're not going to go to the right. You're not going to go to the left. You're still going to stay on that path, and you're going to do whatever it takes to stay on that path and move forward beyond that, and then be the best, right? So talk a little bit about your focus when it comes to, sport, because, well, in football, sport, right? But talk about your focus in football, how you get that, right? Because you're a real strong, mentally strong and strong-willed guy. Talk about where you got that.
Probably partially the way that I was raised. Probably partially. I mean, Italian family, like Sunday dinners, like people talk smack, like, it's real. Like Italian family, it's real, but you get kind of thick-skinned. I got brothers and sisters and like the whole deal. So kind of grew up like that. I had a brother and two little sisters, and we were all 2 years apart. So we were like this, and my family had a motorhome, and we cruise across the country. So, you sit in a motorhome with some family members, you get a little tough after a little while, right? Yeah. Like, you learn, like you say, sink or swim, get with it. Now, in regards to the game of football, my level of confidence, I would say that my confidence was my ability to not only go about my process and put my work in. Like, that was just an afterthought. That was just something that was going to happen. Like, to the point to where my coaches would tell me, you need to do less. You're working too hard. You need to do less. Like, my rule in college was that I always had to walk out of the gym feeling like I should have done more. Okay. Now that I carried that confidence, because I believed that, like, hey, more, I work harder. And I believe that I stack separation through my work. You understand? I'll look around. I'll see what everybody else is doing. I'm going to do more. You understand? And that gave me a level of confidence. And then after that, when I would approach games, everybody's got their own method, right? And I would suggest this to coaches out there. Locker room, you know how they like to blast music and do all that crap? I don't want to hear anything. No music, no nothing. I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want to do anything. And when I became a captain in college, I instilled a rule. It's like, if you want to listen to music, all good, put some headphones on. Because I'm about to sit here and you don't want to mess with me before a game. I'm just going to sit here. Just leave me alone. And then able to, I don't know what the right word is, but almost like form into another person when it's time to play. You understand? Like, just sitting there locking in and getting my mind in a place to where it's not even on. My mind, when I played football, my mind was not even on. I was just there in the moment. Okay. And I think that just came from experience, Coach. Like, I played football for a long time and I worked hard.
Yeah. So what would you say to so you had a real good family upbringing. Speak to the kid that So we've got 15 million homes that are single parent homes.
Yes.
I think this is something to really hammer home, for lack of a better word.
Yes.
Talk to the student athletes that don't have that. Talk to the student athletes that, how can they focus when they're in such a tough scenario where they don't have that family bond, and how they can overcome that.
I mean, just to give you a little backdrop, I'm actually a single dad. I've been raising my son on my own for 8 years. So I'm kind of accustomed to that. Like, I get it a little bit. I understand, and what I would say is that in a single family, like a single parent family, there's going to be less opportunities just because there's only one parent to go around, right? Like, you got two parents, you can accomplish more and get more opportunities, right? Now, that being said, it doesn't have to be a negative thing. I think that that provides those types of athletes to take ownership at a younger age, where it's like, hey, you got the initiative. And what I would suggest to those guys is like, you got to have good friends, man. You got to have good friends. You got to surround yourself with people that are going to support your mission, whether or not they're on the mission that you're on, or if they have their own plans. But you need to surround yourself with people that, are going to go, they're going somewhere, whether it's football or business or da 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 da. It don't matter. Yeah. But surround yourself with motivated, high level people, and you are the company you keep. And I would surround myself with the people that are on the same drive and the same mentality and aggression towards pursuing their goals and their dreams. And I think that that's how a parent or a child of a single parent home can maximize his opportunities and maybe be better than the kid that grew up with two parents in a perfect situation.
Yeah. No, and that's a big thing, man. And is you brought up a real good point. And having good mentors, which sometimes you don't have good mentors, but you want to surround yourself with those that have your best interests. Obviously, some of them may not have the knowledge and experience when it comes to maybe recruiting or the sport of football, whatever. But I think that with young kids, the more that you dig, especially in this information age and technological age, you can definitely look out to and reach out to many people that are willing to help, especially if it's a single parent home. And just, you're going to go through challenges, man. It is what it is. I grew up in a single parent home, and you're going to go through challenges. But at the end of the day, it's going to make you stronger. It's going to help you develop and mold into what you want to be, right? Not what you're interested in, whatever, but what you want to be. But you have to grab that, and you have to say, listen, this is what I want to be, and stick to it, stay focused and pursue that, and being persistent with that, and not, have an ego and being humble. Yeah,
I would go as far as to say, Coach, I would go as far as to say that if a child of a single parent, really has that initiative, their process can be accelerated, actually, in regards to where they want to go. It can actually be accelerated. So it goes back to, how do you look at things, man? Are you going to sit there and feel bad for yourself, or are you going to make the most of it, right? And that's part of football. It's part of being a walk-on warrior. You know what I'm saying? Like, big deal.
Yeah. That's a good soundbite, brother. We're going to use that later on.
Yes, sir.
So listen, before we get you out of here, I know you got to run, but listen, I got to put you on the hot seat. I got to ask you a couple of questions and see what you got to say. So question number one, would you say what's better? What's a better place to be, Arcata or Milano?
I gotta go with Milan. Personally, like, hey, I like them both. Don't get me wrong. Arcata's God's country, beautiful, like some of the most beautiful scenery you could ever find, right? Yeah. Redwood forest, coastline, the whole deal. But Milan, the way of life, I always say that I'm retiring in Italy. and I mean it. I truly intend to go take a football team in the Italian Football League when I retire and just coach and live in a little house on a hillside, brother. That's what I want to do.
Yeah.
The way of life, man. You wake up in the morning, you roll a little cart down, you buy your food for the day. You don't even have a refrigerator. Everything just pops on the counter. Everything's fresh. Everybody's friendly. Like, you dress nice. Like, do it up. Like, Italy. I left part of my heart there, man, and I gotta go back and get it. You know.
Yeah, one of my former players, he plays for the Jaguars.
Oh yeah,
Adrian
Torino.
Tolbert. Yeah, Torino. Yeah. I talked to him the other day. Question number 2: what's tougher, kids or parents?
In what regard?
As a coach.
Oh man. I'm gonna say kids. I'm personally gonna say kids because me personally, I'm not a head football coach.
Yeah.
I don't really deal with parents all that much right now. Right?
Yeah.
I deal with kids and the athletes. And I also try to, carry myself in such a way to where it's like, I don't really want these people to have bad things to say about me. I want them to be like, hey, everybody's like, hey, Coach Nick's doing his best out there. He's doing this for the right reasons. Yeah. I don't know what else you want from me,
Yeah.
That's how I try to go about it. Try to maintain quality relationships. Like, I shake people's hands and chop it up with the dad, the mom, like whatever. I'm all about developing the kid, though. I want the kids to be as good as they want to be, truthfully.
Next question. You got to be careful on this one. I'm going to tag him on this. Who is the better football player, you or your brother?
Me, all day long. Come on, man. All day long, me. He can't tackle me.
And then last question. If you were to speak to you when you were coming through high school, what would you tell him? And if there's anything you would do differently, what would you do differently?
Okay. What I would tell myself is to slow down a little bit, really. I was in kids are young and energetic and doing all sorts of things, like all over the place. I would have just slowed down and dialed back and been a little bit more of like a homebody and like a little bit more focused on some things that I was wanting to pursue. Okay. Because truthfully, I limited myself in regards, because I want to be honest with you, as a high school student, I didn't care about school. I'm gonna be real with you. I didn't care about school. Like, hey, I didn't go here to play school. You know what I'm saying? Like, I went here to play football. But that wasn't right, Coach. It was just, that's all I cared about at the time. I cared about playing good football, and that was what was fun to me, and that's what I cared about. So what I would tell myself is, hey, take care of your school, man. Because truthfully, I could have been an Ivy League guy all day long. Like, I had Ivy League schools coming to get me.
Yeah.
My transcript didn't qualify me. And I don't think it would have taken much effort. If I would have just been like, I was just going to study for this test real quick, turn this assignment in, no big deal, I think I could have easily got all A's. I just didn't even care, though. Because I didn't have the foresight to see that could impact me. I just thought, all I got to do is be good at football.
Yeah.
Right? Take care of your grades, guys. I'll keep telling everybody, take care of your grades, man. Don't be dumb. Take care of your grades. It's not that hard. Seriously. You show up, you turn in the assignment, you do what they ask, you're going to pass the class. Take care of your school.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and it's a resume, and it follows you everywhere you go. And not only does it keep you eligible, but to play, but it's also a badge of honor as well, especially when you end up finishing that, that degree. And, it's one step or one brick that gets you to that next step. So, but listen, hey, Nick, I really appreciate you being on the podcast. We'll definitely have you again soon. And real quick, go ahead and plug if you've got anybody, sponsors, anything you want to plug real quick.
Okay, I got a couple things I'm actually working on right now. Three things. First of all, just took an assistant head coaching job at Westview High School. Okay, up there off the 56 freeway here in San Diego, Carmel Valley. In the process of building that place up, go Wolverines. Okay. Second thing, I run a training business, Ricciardulli Athletic Performance, San Diego. Okay, rapsd.com. I'm offering training all the time. Every Saturday I'm out there. I do youth, I do high school, I do college. I'm not specific to just running backs. I started off as just a running backs guy, but as time's progressed, I'm realizing that, hey, a lot of the things that apply to running backs are applying to a lot of these positions on the football field. Okay, so guys are coming out to see us, and we're working on that, producing, some high-level talent out of the training. Okay, and then the third thing is I actually am a partner on a flag football league, developmental flag football league here in San Diego. It's called Phenom Flag Football. You can find them on Instagram at Phenom Flag Football Pros. Phenom Flag Football Pros. That's right. And we're offering boys and girls football from 2nd to 8th grade. We do free camps. We have a sports psychologist. We have former NFL guys on staff training these kids. There's a lot of good things going on. And this is just all about being a bridge for these kids. Not only, for them to have a good experience and, to give them memories, but also to help them in their future. Okay. So we're trying to set this thing up to help San Diego spit out some good citizens, man.
That's awesome. Well, listen, once again, I want to say thank you, Nick, for coming on the Walk On Warrior podcast, where we prepare young student athletes for next level success. Listen, like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell, because we've got a lot of content. We're going to go, like I said, live twice a week. We got some real good things coming down the pipe. And listen, for you guys watching, Nick is always going to be a part of this. And definitely reach out to him, Twitter, Instagram, and all his social media sites, as well as his website. He'll be more than happy, I promise you, to if you have any questions on anything. But we're definitely going to tag everything on here, Nick, and do things the right way. You know what I'm saying? So listen, I always like to close it out like this, that, Walk On Warrior podcast, it's not about us as coaches, but it's about you, young student athletes. We'll see you guys on the next episode.
All right, guys. God bless you guys. Appreciate you.